Snow kiting is a truly spectacular sport. The international competitions of the Zhigulevskoe or Zhigulevskoe Sea Marathon have again managed to attract lovers of winter extreme sports to Talieti. There's skyboarding, snow kiting, sky lifting and kite bugging, but the basis for all these different sports is the kite, with the aid of which the sportsmen and women travel across different surfaces using different equipment. Snow kiting is a type of sailing with the kite standing in for a sail. It's a light construction formed out of a fabric canopy and straps. The sportsmen travel on the skis or a snowboard using the wind to power themselves. Sporting kites are divided into two types: balloons, which inflate, and parafoils, which use the same principle as paraplanes or gliders. Alexei, what does the equipment for snow kiting consist of? It consists of the usual equipment that you would use for downhill skiing and the non-standard stuff, which is essentially the kite. If you've decided to use a kite with your downhill skis, then absolutely any standard downhill skis will do. The only thing you'll have to pay attention to is that the straighter the skis, the easier it will be to use the kite. If you're using a snowboard, you also use a standard snowboard that you would use for downhilling. That can be used for kiting too. The only thing is that you'll have to shift the bindings so that they're positioned absolutely symmetrically, because you're going to have to go both left and right. Then we have to use several things that aren't in the standard equipment. The main thing, of course, is that the kite tows you, so you have to put on a harness that the kite can pull. The harness is worn by the rider so that the pull of the kite is applied directly to his body. The waist harness in its construction appears to be a broad protective belt that's placed around the waist. A seated harness also takes in the legs and supports the area around the hips. Choosing the right harness, or trapeze as it's sometimes known, ensures safe and comfortable riding. You've got a lot of devices on you. Let's go through them. I can see hooks, clasps, all sorts of things. Yes, one of the main elements in the equipment is the main ice drill. You put this protective cover over it so that its sharp edge doesn't hurt you. The main function of the ice drill is to fix the kite to the surface so that it doesn't just fly off when you don't want it to. We carry it with us because if we're going a long way, you have to be able to park the kite. We take out the drill, dig it into the ice, attach the kite to it, and then we can get on with other stuff. It's basically a parker for the kite, yes. But when there's a snowstorm and it might get blown away, there's a special bright tape on it that will help you find it in the snowy wastes if it gets lost. Right, we've dealt with that. Yes, there's another thing, the so-called safety line, which keeps us attached to the kite. When the kite is left without any wind, a security mechanism begins to operate. The kite falls to the ice, down onto the snow. It remains attached to the rider thanks to this safety line. Then we can haul the kite in, put the whole system back together, and then launch it again. That way you don't lose anything, you can gather everything up. If things are really bad, then we can unhook ourselves from this system like this. That way the kite is entirely unhooked. It unhooks very easily if, for example, it's dragging you or something like that happens. Yes. As a rule, competitors take several kites to races, large ones for light winds and small ones for strong winds. Experienced sportsmen know that the Zhigulevskoe event is distinguished by its incredibly variable wind flows. Snow kiting is an extreme sport, so you always have to bear safety measures in mind. What other things do you have to remember as far as safety is concerned? That's actually what we start our training with. We tell you how to make all this as safe as possible. Firstly, if you're kiting on the ice of a frozen water body, you must never go out there if there's a chance that you might fall through the ice. Before starting to ride, you have to make a good assessment of the wind conditions. If you're a novice rider and the wind is very strong, then you really want to go out riding, but it's in your interest to resist the temptation, because it could end very badly. You haven't got the skills needed to deal with the force of the wind yet. Do you need to undergo some special physical training? The wind, after all, it involves a lot of physical work. What skills or abilities should a novice kiter get before getting started? Even if you got poor marks in sports at school, then I think you can still confidently start kiting. You should be in good enough shape to get started. But if you really want to get rid of all this, as it were, then first you should probably go to the gym, get your body in shape, and then start doing it. The strength of the wind on which the racing is actually entirely dependent is tested by the sportsman with the aid of a special device, a wind gauge. A kite of the right size is selected with the aid of the readings that it gives. But the wind is changeable, and that means it's unpredictable. Experienced sportsmen know that checking their equipment and kite before a competition is an absolute necessity, because during the race you'll only be able to count on yourself and the equipment that you've got with you. The proper selection of that equipment is half the job done. The other half is getting in the competitive frame of mind. Sportsmen come here from all over Russia and from all over the world. The majority of the participants in the competition prefer to stay at this holiday camp, the Podsnezhnik. There's a good reason for that. Getting some good rest is an important element in putting in a good performance. Tolyatti is located in Russia's Samara Oblast, on the left shore of the river Volga, not far from the Zhigulevskoe mountains. The Kuibyshev Reservoir is also located here. Its unofficial name is the Zhigulevskoe Sea, or Moria in Russian. You can travel the 800 kilometers from Moscow to get to Tolyatti by train or by plane, taking a ticket to Samara, and then get to the marathon site by bus. Podsnezhnik holiday camp is in a beautiful district in the middle section of the Volga River. There's nothing here that would let you know that you're close to a big city. Just fresh air, snow, and cozy wooden cottages, lost among the resinous pine trees. Children and adults alike love to stay at the Podsnezhnik camp. They can go riding on snowmobiles or horses, there are sporting competitions and beautiful celebrations with the participation of top performers. Podsnezhnik offers guests a range of prices and comfort levels in its accommodation. There are cottages, villas and individual rooms and suites in the two-story hotel complex. I've also decided to stay in one of these wonderful wooden houses for several days. While the competition is going on, I'll be able to live close to the sportsmen. That way I won't miss a thing. For those who want to combine excellent rest and relaxation at one with nature and modern comfort, there's no better option. Everything's perfect for that here. The houses and cottages have been made using natural woods, which makes them a world away from inner-city flats and apartments. The living rooms with their upholstered furniture can cope with any number of guests, from a family of 2 or 3 through to larger groups. After some truly active rest and relaxation, getting yet more rest in your bedroom is an essential. Each of the houses has several of them, so that each guest can fully restore their energy levels. A modern kitchen equipped with everything necessary, a fridge, a hob, crockery. If you don't feel like cooking, you can go to the cafe where the chefs prepare varied dishes using ecologically clean ingredients. The bathrooms are fitted with modern shower cabins and water heaters. Those who like the steam can use the great saunas anytime they want. Winter is the perfect time for some active rest and relaxation. Skis, snowboards, inflatable tire inners, each to their own. Winter sports offer a great opportunity to pack the colder seasons with some fiery experiences and striking victories. A short walk away from the holiday camp, there's the Spin Sport Amusement Park. It's a downhill skiing complex located in a pine forest, which means that the air's incredibly fresh and there's an abundance of snow. Spin Sport is the ideal place for some active family leisure because there's an activity to suit every taste here. The park offers its guests several slopes of varying difficulty, for kids and adults, for skiers and for snowboarders. The longest run is 550 metres, with a drop of 65 metres. Two of the runs have lighting, which means the short winter day is extended here. There are experienced instructors on hand to train those who are skiing for the first time. This is really popular among kids and adults. It's not so much a sport, more a bit of winter fun. It's a tire inner. It's a great way to get the adrenaline flowing and to lift your spirits. Let's go. For these inflatable chariots, there are special slopes with sharp turns and zigzags. Flying along at enormous speeds, you get a real thrill. And you don't need any training in advance, you just get on and off you go. There's another very pleasant aspect to this. When you take the lift back up, you go down on the tire and you come back on it. That's good. Skis, snowboards and tire inners, they're just a part of what's on offer for guests young and old here. Meeting the horses is unforgettable and you can ride on them here all year round. The main aim of my trip to Tolyatti, however, is to attend the international snow kiting competition, the Zhigulevskoe Marathon. The first competition of this kind held at the Zhigulevskoe Reservoir was in 2006, and it almost immediately became a mass event in this sporting discipline. Kiters from all over Russia and from abroad travel here to attend the competition. The aim of my visit to Tolyatti is to attend the Zhigulevskoe Marathon Snow Kiting Championship. On the enormous territory of the Zhigulevskoe Reservoir, a complex track has been set up and the sportsmen will be coming out onto it very shortly. Before the start, there's an obligatory registration of the competitors. They're divided into freestylers and those taking part in the racing. Each gets their own number. The wind has clearly been picking up, it's cold and visibility is poor. There are just a few moments left before the start. All of the sportsmen are holding their kites in a position that gives little pull, with the surface of the kite's exposure to the wind minimized. It's parallel to the wind, but as soon as the official gives a signal with a whistle and raises a green flag, the riders maximize their kite's exposure and set off. The race is on. In these competitions, there are two separate starts for kite skiers and for kite boarders. The racers in one group are in the start zone at a safe distance from one another. On the official signal, they should come up to the starting line and cross that imaginary line that runs between the two orange-coloured pyramids. The cold, penetrating wind not only fails to scare, it actually brings joy to those brave enough to try out the track. The main official has signalled the start and the race is underway. What does your work as a race official involve? Our job is to set up the distances very precisely using GPS positioning, because people are travelling at great speed, so they can't see the symbols. They use GPS to locate them, so we have to be very precise in the positioning of those points. We also have to set out the starting and finishing posts in good time. And we also have to time the starts very precisely to the 100th of a second. Our next task is oversight. We have to oversee the travelling of the course to make sure there are no infringements and then oversee the finish. In good time and very precisely, we have to note down the finishing time of every participant, which is marked up on the tournament table, so they know where they're positioned. In certain circumstances, when there's been a breakage, where a kite has torn, where skis have broken, we have to send out safety crews to evacuate the competitors from there. The layout for the marathon's course involves the competitors travelling various loops which are marked out by turning marks. The total direct distance covered is 53 kilometres. Taking into account weaving and tacking, they'll actually cover about 70 kilometres. At each intermediary finish, the officials record the race results. They're waiting for the competitors at the first turning mark. Time is passing, but they still haven't arrived. The wind's blowing incredibly hard, and you'd think that there must be a real struggle going on out there on the course, but the horizon is clear. In the middle of the course, there's absolutely no wind at all, and the competitors have reported this that they're just stuck on the snow and that they can't move. As an hour has passed and only one kiter has managed to reach the first turning mark, the chief race official has decided to abandon the race, as it's lost its meaning as a competitive event. A snowmobile is being called up to head off with a marker signalling the abandonment of today's race. All the competitors know what it means. They will be given assistance in reaching a windier area or in getting back to the base camp. Finally, those who were trapped in the wind-free patch on the first loop of the marathon appear. We'd set off beautifully. I'd just taken a look, the sun was shining, no snow, the visibility was good, we were doing fine. And then all of a sudden the wind suddenly died out. It was a shame. We wanted to keep going. It's a bit soul-destroying, but on the other hand, this is my 5th time. There was just one time when all 4 days were raced. It's a shame. This guy had an equipment failure whilst out racing. Yes, my binding broke. So I was quite happy the wind died out, actually. He was happy about it. To be honest, I'm really happy about it. In the race committee's report, it's noted that only one competitor managed to reach the finish. Ironically, it was a sportsman bearing a number that's considered to be unlucky. I wasn't that surprised. I was born on the 13th. It's just another number. People who were born on the 13th, well, they're not even afraid of black cats crossing their path. The race wasn't completed today. Everyone's a little bit down. The wind actually reappeared on the course as soon as the race was stopped. On the shore, however, the weather has taken a clear turn for the worse, and we don't yet know what surprises lie in store for the sportsmen tomorrow. Can you see what the wind's like now? This wind is going to be considered a dead calm in comparison with what we're going to get tomorrow, according to the weather forecast. Tomorrow it's going to be really windy, so it's going to be more exciting, more fun. I think we're actually going to be lucky with the wind. We didn't come all the way here in vain. There was wind on the shore. As soon as a special jump was set up, they started using it. And while 7 kilometers away from the start there was no wind and the racers couldn't get their kites into the air, the freestylers didn't stop competing for a moment. The competition is tough here too. The competition has attracted top sportsmen. Modern kites come in different configurations and sizes. There are smaller ones, there are bigger ones. They allow you to pick up a lot of speed and even move against the wind. And as the kite, despite its weight, creates a powerful lifting force, with its aid you can not only slide, you can also do some incredible jumps. Freestyle is a fairly complex discipline requiring agility, good physical condition and an ability to assess the force and direction of the wind. Freestylers are divided into 2 classes, skiers and snowboarders. What does a sportsman have to do to get a positive response from you? For you to give him good marks? Unfortunately, I'm not supposed to experience any emotions in my work. It doesn't always work out like that. But first and foremost, we assess the level of the technical complexity. So the sportsmen have to do the most complex tricks that they've got in their arsenal in order to be victorious. And what are the most complex tricks? In kiting and snowboarding, the so-called hand pass, that's where they pass the boards behind their backs. That means that for a certain period the sportsman is freed of the kite. His task is to pass the board easily. That involves a certain level of confidence, because when you're doing that quickly, there's a chance that when you fall you could seriously injure yourself. Tell me, how are the performances going today, and how's your mood? Well, my mood started out being generally jolly, wonderful even. The wind's always blowing, but so far I haven't managed to show anything because my binding on my ski broke. So that dampened my spirits somewhat. Have you ever been in a situation where a strong wind has been blowing and you simply couldn't handle the kite? Yes, that's happened. I even fell and lost consciousness, breaking my helmet. But that didn't put you off taking part. No, of course not. It's a science. You have to study and study and study. Unfortunately, this day brought an unpleasant surprise. During the carrying out of a complex jump, a sportsman made a bad landing and was seriously injured. He quickly recovered, however, and was sent to hospital. Extreme sports at this level always have instant medical aid on hand. From year to year is the standard of the sportsman growing. Yes, it's growing from year to year, and that's great for our Russian snow kiting. I've been judging since the 2003-2004 season, the all-Russian competitions, Ukrainian, even international competitions, and it's a real joy to be able to say that we're improving. It's great that youngsters are coming through. They've long since started out jumping me. Back in the day I used to win a few things, but 3 years ago even my son out-jumped me, so that was quite something. But the fact that Russians are already putting in some good results at international competitions, that's already entirely clear. The Russians are coming. They've arrived in international kiteboarding and even in winter boarding. There have been 6 world champions in winter snow kiting from Russia. 6. Can we say that Russian sportsmen in winter kiting stand a good chance just because we have such excellent winters? Well, I would say that it's down to the people that we've got and, of course, the climatic conditions. When in Russia's central sections you've got 6 or 7 months of snow rather than hot water, then the conditions are great, of course, and they're great in Tolyatti, where we are today. The conditions are absolutely wonderful here. A big water area, so they can hold events here every year with a great deal of success. It seems that the thirst for thrills and adrenaline is passed on from generation to generation. The founders of this sport in Russia are today watching as their children take up the challenge. Competing today, I saw some very young faces. My father has been involved in this sport since 2001. So I just ended up taking part too. Have you already won some medals? Yes, I'm the Russian champion in summer kiteboarding in the amateur class. Now I'm competing in the pro category, although I'm only in 7th position so far. Summer kiting, in winter kiting. So kites are infectious. You don't want to give it up, despite the changes in season. Yes, kites are great because winter, summer, rain or shine, you can still go kiting year-round. The freestyle competitions have taken place today. Unlike the Zhigulevskoe marathon participants who have to cover kilometers of snowy track, these sportsmen are far less reliant on the whims of the weather. On the shore where the freestyle competitions take place, there's always wind. Every day, the international Zhigulevskoe marathon competition begins with the usual registration for the competitors. The officials again remind them of the course, the positioning of the turning markers and the safety rules. Yesterday's events have led to concerns about the weather conditions, but today the wind is twice as strong as it was yesterday, and there's nothing to suggest a repeat of yesterday's dead calm. Before going on to the difficult multi-kilometre track, the sportsmen check their kites and equipment. Everyone has to be absolutely focused, as so much depends on how you prepare. The official has raised his flag, they're ready. The second flag, they're off. The race has begun. The absence of sunlight, the snow and the strong wind have done their work. Visibility is almost zero. The press centre almost never stops its intensive, stressed work. Lists, registration, interim competition results, they have to keep track of all of this. During the marathon, the viewers can watch the competitors in real time on specially set up screens or on the internet. We've just come back in. What's going on out there? Well, it's fairly difficult weather. The wind's very gusty and the visibility's poor. So a lot of people are giving up. I also gave up on the first stage because I just didn't have the strength to go on. There's a unique opportunity to see how the race is running on screen because each of the competitors is fitted with a special device. This system allows the viewers to keep track of events, despite the fact that the races are several kilometers away. In order to make it more spectacular and in order to increase the safety levels of the racers, we've got this tracking system. It allows us to follow the wearers of these devices through a satellite link and through the internet. We've got this device here. There it is. Turn it on and it establishes the location of the device and sends the coordinates to the server. So you can track the sportsman, naturally. You can't see a person after he's traveled 10 kilometers, but it's interesting to be able to see where he's located, who he's up against out there, who he's dueling with. So you can see all that on the map. They're all in motion. You can see immediately who's gone which way, how fast they're going, or, heaven forbid, if they've stopped and are putting out an SOS signal. How can you put out that signal? It's a very simple device. It doesn't have much in the way of buttons. There's just one big one with the SOS written on it. The red one. You press it and hold it down. The signal's been sent. So if your fingers are still moving, then you can send the signal. That means you'll be rescued. The viewers' expectations have been met. The competitors who have managed to overcome those difficult kilometers have appeared. Some have managed to last the whole race, going the distance. Some have simply had to drop out. What's going on out there? There's a real battle. The lads are fighting for positions. These people have been training all year. After all, the Zhigulevskoe marathon only comes round once a year. They've bought good kites and boards, got them ready for the big day, and then on that big day, they really have to give it their all. Winning doesn't come easy. Was this stage easy? Was it hard? Going at 90 degrees to the wind wasn't hard. Coming up against the wind was bearable. But the really tough bit was running before the wind. I thought that would be the easiest, but I kept falling, resting, and then getting back up. It was really hard. Excitement thrills a pleasant weariness, the joy of victory and the desolation of giving up. Another day of the competition is over. The sportsmen and women are packing up their kites and leaving the snowy ice fields. The chief official shares his impressions of the competition with me. What's the direction been over recent years? Have our sportsmen and women improved? The kite is a new form of sailing. The sport itself is also developing. Russian sportsmen have already been ranking in the world's top 10 for several years now. But in comparison with past competitions, what have you noticed here? Very strong racers have come, bearing in mind that 30% of the competitors managed to make it into the event's control time. That means that 30% of them were reaching very high speeds. That's a tremendous breakthrough. Is there anything as a professional trainer that you'd like to see happening, taking into account experience abroad? We have to keep working and never give in. The main thing is to make it over the finish line. The winner's podium will come eventually. A tense day of competition brings weariness, and together with that comes, for some, the joy of victory. Those taking part in the Zhigulevskoe will share their memories of this thrilling sporting adventure for a long time to come. These people have come to Talieti from a long way away. They support one another, and I decided I had to get to know them. Tell me, guys, are you enjoying this year's competition here? It's been an interesting series of events. This is the first time that we've competed in the marathon, and let's just say that we've got to build up some more strength. We have to try and win. It's been very tough. Why is this your first marathon? Previously, we've raced in sprint distances. That's Olympic distances, which are, as a rule, a triangle, a loop, and then a straight finish. That's about 10 kilometers, maybe 14. But here we've been doing 70 to 80 kilometers a day. That's very tough. We're a little tired. Very tired. But what do you feel at the end when you've traveled so many kilometers? That I could do it. The hardest thing is actually getting up in the morning. After you've raced? Yes, I mean, you come home in the evening, you're really tired, you have a shower, you start to feel better. But getting up in the morning's the hardest thing. Getting up and forcing yourself to cover that distance again. Your muscles hurt, your legs ache. How do you get into this sport? A friend got me into it. He advised you. Yes, he had these blazing eyes and he started to show me these photographs, videos. Eventually he took me out kiting, showed me how it was done. I remember that it was the 1st of January. I came out and I saw this great white field. And in the middle of this field, these beautiful butterflies, these huge kites, were flying around. It really hooked me. The conditions here are tough, the wind. Maybe this isn't a sport for women. No, anyone can take part in this sport, I think. Women want to be free too. It's the wind. We can do it too. There's a team spirit here, isn't there? A feeling that people will help one another. There are always examples when something happens out on the course, less experienced riders drop their kites, they fall, and they can't get up. Everyone keeps an eye on that, as it were. There have even been cases when people have helped out weaker races, losing their leading positions, and then in the results they've been reinstated in the position they were holding when they did that. Kiters are actually abnormal. In the best sense, of course. People who have nothing to do with kiting, they can't understand what we get out of it all. When we go outside and see there's snow, that it's windy, and that we're really happy about that. For normal people, That would be bad weather, but we're really happy when it's like that, really enthusiastic about it, hurrying to get to the seaside. Any kiter really, when he goes outside and sees rubbish being blown about by the wind, he loves that. Normal people don't like it, but it doesn't get any better for us. The Zhigulevskoe Moria Marathon snow kiting competition will be carrying on for a few more days. I hope that for all the participants in this spectacular event, it will be as memorable as it has been for me. The desire to tame the wind is so infectious that I might even give it a go myself, and even one day perhaps come here as a competitor.